Hello, everyone, and welcome to Living Well with Dr. Sheila, the show that seeks to educate the public on ways that you can live your best life. Just to remember, you can watch us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire. You can watch us on Google TV if you like listening, Chromecast, and iTunes. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am your host, Sheila Craig Whiteman. I am a doctor of physical therapy. Today's guest is Janice Lo, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. We should really have a nice, interesting conversation. I think you're going to have a good amount of information from her. She is the founder of Not a Diet, a nutrition coach based, and she's a nutritionist or a nutrition coach who is based in the UK. So you're going to hear that little bit of an accent, and that's cool. She is on a mission to help busy people get their best health without restrictive diets or extreme workouts. So that is something that we really all want to hear and learn about. So I'm going to bring her into the studio in just a second. Here she is. Hi.
Hi, Sheila.
Hi. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining me. So I just have a couple questions to start off. And the question that everyone always wants to know is, tell us a little bit about your journey to be this type of a coach.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for having me on your show.
You're quite welcome.
And in terms of my journey, so I would say it really started about 5 to 6 years ago. Now, that was when I had just graduated from university or college for the American listeners. And, you know, I was expecting to feel a certain kind of overwhelm and exhaustion simply jumping from a student lifestyle to a working person's lifestyle, right? I expected it. I kind of thought, okay, there's no more getting up whenever I want. There's not going to be 3 hours of lectures in a day. This is going to be full on at least 9 to 6. I was ready for that. But what I was not ready for was exactly how exhausted I was. Now, then I was like 24, right? I was young. I was living in London, this amazing city. And I had this dream of, you know, I have my first job. I feel like an adult. I'm going to go for drinks with my workmates, etc. None of that happened, right? So every day I would go to work, come home, make dinner, fall asleep on the sofa without fail, right? At about 8:30 in the evening. Mm-hmm. And only to get woken up by maybe a sound on the TV, or I would, you know, that kind of startle feeling that you get, that you wake yourself up from a nap. And then I would crawl back into bed and continue sleeping. Oh. But I wouldn't wake up refreshed. So it was like a continuous hell, basically. I was just tired all the time. And that was when I kind of thought, okay, this is weird, because I even asked my parents, like, am I getting old? Like, is this what it's like to get old? And of course, they just laughed at me. And, you know, I was checking, okay, I don't have any medical conditions. I don't have, you know, thyroid problems, none of that. And I couldn't figure out why I was so tired until when I saw my brother, who was getting ready for his wedding. Now, they had hired a personal trainer. They had started looking at their nutrition. They looked fabulous, and they were older than me, right? And I was like, this isn't right. You're older than me, and you're busier than me, and you're preparing for a wedding, which is probably one of the most stressful things people can go through. And they still were better than me. So obviously, as the little sister, I did what my brother did. I went and got myself a trainer, and that only really lasted a few months, because what I needed wasn't the actual physical training, but an insight into the world of how our bodies work. I started looking into nutrition then, and look, my journey into becoming a coach is by no means a straight line, and I don't think anyone's health journey is meant to be a straight line. When I first started looking at nutrition, I got results very quickly. So within 3 months, I felt amazing. I dropped 8% body fat, and all of these metrics, you know, that were very impressive. But what happened next was, I think, more of a trigger as to why I decided to become a coach. I became orthorexic, plain and simple. I was trying to chase that golden number for when I can get abs definition. I was trying to fit the stereotype, or rather the prototype of what I've been seeing on Instagram. And I was pushing to a point where I misaligned my kneecap because I was lifting weights that were just too heavy for my frame. I'm like 5'4" and about 110 pounds. And for the following 8 months, I got to my number. I started getting offers from people on Instagram to sponsor me, everything. People were asking, do you want to go compete? Everything. But I was crying, scrolling on Instagram. I was not actually healthy because I was only eating maybe about 5-6 types of foods, apart from on a cheat day where I would eat whatever. And so that really, I guess, caused me to really take a look at what I've been doing. And luckily, I still had enough sanity left to delete Instagram off my phone. And then I decided, right, let me do this properly, because clearly whatever I've been doing, which is following what others are doing, didn't work for me. I am a 9-to-5 office person, right? Outside of being a coach, I don't have that time to meal prep, to eat 8 times a day, to do all of these things. So that's when I decided to go study nutrition and get qualified as a coach. So again, it's not a straight line. And there was, pain, sweat, tears, whatever. Mm-hmm. But this is why I'm a coach now.
Interesting. And was this something that is completely different than what you went to, university? What you went to university for? Yes. Is it completely different?
I read economics and politics. So this is a completely different thing that I'm doing.
It is. Oh my gosh. Yes. Wow. Yeah. And why is health and nutrition just important for everyone?
So I like to tell people that, you're treating your car better than you treat your body. Right? You can buy a new car, you can't buy a new body. There are just certain things, and I'm sure this year as well with COVID and everything, I hope people realize that, there are certain things that happen to your health that, yes, I really believe in rehabilitation and kind of rebuilding strength and all of that. But there are also certain things that once it's damaged, which is why I'm always encouraging people, don't wait for consequences, right? Make sure your health is at its best, whatever age you are, whatever lifestyle you are, strive for your best health. And actually, you'll find that, you're just better at dealing with everything that life throws at you.
Yeah. A lot of people, and myself included at one point, used to think that it was very difficult, though, to stay healthy and to be healthy, that it involved just a lot of time. So can you kind of talk to us a little bit about how we can be healthy and be efficiently healthy?
Of course. So that's my thing, right? Because like I mentioned, I actually still have a 9-to-5 corporate career. I just started a new job this week, and I'm still trying to run my business as a nutrition coach. I have 2 podcasts, and I'm okay being healthy. So, and I understand that a lot of listeners, especially mums, might feel like, oh, that it's an impossible task, right? But I guess I'm here today to tell you that it doesn't have to be. And one of the first things we all need to figure out is what your definition of health is. Now, the reason I say this is because if you go on Google and search, I don't know, how to be healthy, how to lose weight, you're going to find billions of results of thousands, tens of thousands of people telling you their version of how they did it, right? Not undermining the fact that it did work for them, but you need to figure out, do you want to be able to lift twice your weight, or do you want to be able to run up the stairs, or do you want to sleep better, or do you want to lose weight? So once you define what your picture of health looks like, you'll find that you have fewer things to do, almost. It's not a trial and error. You can be strategic. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And that's one I have not heard it described like that. And I've actually had many guests talk about food, but that and diet and health. But that is really a good way for people to dissect what health means to them. Because it can mean a lot of different things. And I guess if you can take it at one piece at a time, because you certainly do have to sleep well to be healthy. You know, and if you look at that as, okay, well, that's going to be my goal for now, and keep moving forward, you'll continue to improve your health, actually.
Yeah, and I think if you have a very clear picture of, you know, the North Star, let's call it that, of your health, then things almost feel a little bit easier because you're very clear on what your goal is. Instead of your goal being, let me try this diet, your goal could be, well, I want to feel 10 times better. I want my skin to improve. Maybe you do want to lose some weight, or some people want to put on some weight. So I think first step is definitely getting help if you need to help define what health actually means to you. A good example is, you know, one of my clients, this guy, middle-aged guy with kids, he said, well, I want to lose some weight. And I said, why? And he said, well, you know, I've got a bit of a beer belly. My shirt, you know, the buttons are kind of like popping a little bit. Doesn't look good. But the more I probed, the more it became clear that those were just superficial reasons. The deepest cut for him was that when he took his kids to swimming class, he felt ashamed to be in his swimming trunks, to take off his t-shirt in front of other parents. That was the deep cut for him, right? And it might sound cruel, but this is what my role as a coach is. I'm here to find the deepest cut so that you understand where your motivation is. And I always remind my clients, it does not matter if your motivation is vanity. It really doesn't. As long as it doesn't lead you to compare yourself with other people. You know, if you within yourself want to look a certain way and you're clear that that's what you want, that is as good a motivation as any.
Right. So true. So let's talk a little bit about food then, and diets. So and first of all, are there, we can talk about why diets, because there's always a new diet. There's a lot of diets going on, you know, so we'll talk about that. But for foods to stay healthy, do you have to feel deprived and restricted? Because that's what people always say. You know, I can't eat this. I always say I can't instead of I can.
Absolutely. Like, very spot on. I think with my clients especially, I always say, I'm not going to restrict you with anything, especially people working in London. Drinking alcohol is part of the lifestyle, right? Of course, I'm not here to promote getting drunk, promote, you know, just going crazy and having 5 bottles of champagne. I'm not saying that at all. But if you just take a look at, you know, if people have children, or remember when you were a child, when your mum says to you, don't do something, you're going to find 5 million ways to do it, right? Just because someone said don't do it. So when it comes to weight, let's say weight loss, you know, being the most relatable, I think, health goal, restriction doesn't actually work because it's not going to last. It's never going to last, right? And what happens is that when you restrict, you're actually putting more attention to it. The way I illustrate this is basically I only learned to cycle as an adult, right? And trust me, it was incredibly difficult because I think as an adult, you're actually more fearful of getting hurt. Whereas when you're a kid, you don't care. So I remember, you know, I was cycling and I was just in my mind thinking, don't go into the lamppost. Just don't hit the lamppost. And what happened? I hit the lamppost, right? Because attention goes, the energy flows where attention goes.
Yes.
Right. So actually, if you remove all ideas of restrictions and actually focus on what the hell do you actually need to eat? What does your body need? So focus on the need before the want. And you'll find that you actually don't have room for cravings. You know, if your body is fully satisfied. Now, of course, when you're switching from, let's say, the standard American diet to a healthier diet, it will be a journey, right? It's not going to be an overnight change. I tell people if your body took you 30 years to build that beer belly, is not going to take 30 days to get rid of, right? So I think the focus really should be, look at what your body needs depending on your lifestyle. Someone who is very active will need something very different to someone who's maybe older, or someone who's, you know, in their teenage years, or an expecting mother. Everybody's body will need something different. And really, if you are fulfilling what the body needs to thrive, let snacks be snacks. You know, there's always a time and a place for, you know, hot dogs, crisps, Doritos, whatever. There is a time and a place for those things, as long as they're not your main meals, and it doesn't happen every day.
Mm-hmm. That's really good advice. Because then when you can have, because people do always talk about cheat days when they have, when they're on different types of diets, you know, they have cheat days. I think you even mentioned it in the beginning, but even if do you think, I'll just ask this question. So do you think it's better mentally if you don't think of your eating as having to have a cheat day?
I think my answer will be, what's better is whatever works for you, actually. I do have clients who prefer intermittent fasting, and I'm fine with them doing that as long as they are getting nutritionally everything their body needs. For people who prefer to be extremely strict with themselves, I think, for example, if people want to have a cheat day once a week, I think that's okay, provided mentally, you know, you can deal with it yourself, that you're not eating steamed fish and broccoli every day and then going crazy on the cheat day. Because there is kind of some belief, you know, among nutrition folks that it is good to shock your body sometimes, right? It's all about variety. So I think it's a balance, really. Like, whatever can help you get to your goal, whatever serves your purpose, is the better option for you.
Right. So
just to add to that, sorry, with my clients who go for that option, I call it a treat day, not a cheat day, because cheat would imply that it's negative, that you're cheating yourself, you're cheating your trainer, whatever. But let's call it a treat day. Now, if you want to treat yourself with a donut, go for it. Some people actually treat themselves with a good salad. Go for it. You know, and treats also don't have to come in the form of food. It could be a massage. It could be a nice walk.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So you did answer so that's kind of what I was thinking, because cheat does have such a negative connotation. And to say treat is, you know, it's really nice, because all of us, if you say treat, everybody will smile. They will smile, because that's something that makes most people happy, is a treat. But so what does it mean? And you kind of have touched on this, but I'll ask the questions and then we will continue as I ask the questions to kind of build on your previous responses. But what does it mean to be healthy? Just what does that mean?
For me, being healthy is having the body as well as the mind, actually, and the soul in the most powerful state that can help you fulfill your purpose, whatever that is, right? And at each stage in your life, maybe even each month, that could be different. So for now, because I've just started a new job, it is very mentally exhausting. And, you know, it is going to be quite demanding for the first month. So for me this month, the best health is not being able to run 10K, is not going to be able to maybe go to the gym 5 days a week. It might be simply having enough energy to deal with the day, and then also having enough energy to practice self-care. So people need to remember that demands change in life, right? At every stage in life. And therefore, the best health is simply whatever that can get you there, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And do you have to, do you have to exercise to be healthy?
I think it's, I was reading something about this, actually. I think let's distinguish being active versus exercising. Because being active actually does not mean going to CrossFit 5 days a week, right? There are a lot of people who religiously work out 3 days a week, but are super sedentary rest of the time. Mm-hmm. So I actually believe there is more benefit to being generally more active than pushing yourself through 3 very difficult workouts every week. It really, again, it depends on your goals, right? For some people, they are after a certain physique. For some people, they are after certain personal bests, you know, how much they can lift or how many push-ups they can do. So if those are your goals, fine. But I actually think for most people who are very busy, it's more important to stay just consistently active. So that could be taking the stairs instead of the lift. That could be having an arrangement where you have a standing up desk, or even if you are working from home, like I am most of the time, set yourself some time, go for a walk, you know, do some stretching. So I think, yeah, I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, that actually did answer the question, because being healthy to a lot of people means so many different things. And for some people, it does mean going to the gym and just exercising like crazy, not necessarily meaning that you're still healthy doing that, because
Absolutely.
you're doing that when you're, you know, not eating properly or not sleeping. It's still not healthy. So just to, you know, kind of distinguish that if you're active, because they always say it's just, you know, moving. If you're moving, then you can still be healthy and be at your best without having extreme, or not even extreme, taxing workouts.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I misaligned my kneecap. Like, I don't think that's very healthy, right? And that actually put me out for a year. I couldn't do squats for a year because of that. So that definitely wasn't very healthy. And especially since last year, you know, a lot of people working from home. I don't know about in the US, but in the UK, definitely most people are now working from home. And what I ask my clients to do is, you know, during lunch, everyone's being very understanding because of these arrangements. So why don't you put yourself, you know, away for half an hour? Definitely eat away from any devices. Just go for a walk. You know, just breathe outside air, have some UV on your skin, you know, get some vitamin D and interact with nature. I think that's very important. And when you mentioned actually some people preferring grueling workouts, if that actually does help your mental health, I would say if you can do it safely, do it too. You know, people need to remember that health is not just about how fit you are physically, right? It's how well you are mentally as well, because you need to deal with a lot of things. Life is very stressful. We pick up a lot of stress every day. And also at a deeper level, like your spirit, your soul, basically how happy you are. I think that's a good indication of health as well.
Yes, I agree. And yet I have to say, exercising within the limits of what your body wants to do is so important. I am a physical therapist, so I can't tell you how when CrossFit and the HIIT exercises
no one has any cartilage left.
I was getting ready to say we were busy. We were busy. Shoulder, hip, knee. You know, shoulder, hip, and knee injuries for sure. So that being said, though, go ahead and just make a statement on how to define health, just so we can just define it and move.
So I would say this is a hard one, actually, because it can be so different. But I would say health is a state where you feel empowered to do what you want to do, how you want to do it, and when you want to do it.
Yeah, very good. Very good. So, and then, were you done? Is that the statement?
Yes.
You wanted to, okay. Because I know you said that's hard. I don't know how much you wanted to really talk about that, but yeah, that was a really good explanation though. But so for some people, for most people, all of us actually, why isn't health just about physical or just the measurements of our body, like our BMI, et cetera, et cetera? Why health isn't just about those measurements? What else?
So I think, without discrediting these things, I think measurements are helpful just for us to understand, rough ballpark, what are we talking about, as well as trends. I think those are definitely helpful. But just to bear in mind that even identical twins with identical DNA grow up slightly different, right? You can give them the same food. A lot of twins grow up in the same household. They will grow up different. And this is where numbers become an interesting thing. So I'm 5'4". I'm about 110 pounds. I know a lot of other people, other women who are same height as me, probably same kind of fitness as me, but could be heavier because we each deposit differently, right? So it could be your muscle mass could be higher based on things like your ethnicity or even how much exercise you do, right? So then these become a bit arbitrary. I was at my lowest 100 pounds. That was not healthy. I was not healthy. I thought I was because I wanted to have abs and everything, but that was not healthy. So health is a very holistic, I guess, collection of measurements, and numbers are just one aspect of it. It is helpful. With my clients, I absolutely, get them to figure out, let's measure maybe once every 2 weeks. Let's not get obsessive about it. Because the thing with weighing yourself at home, I don't actually weigh myself at home, but how much water you drank, the food you ate the day before, are you near your period cycle? All of these things can change everything. I'm about 5-6 pounds different morning and night. Right? So it just, to me, it's just too inaccurate to rely on. Even things like body fat, right? Unless you actually do it properly at a medical facility, the machines you get at gyms and whatever, it's so influenced by your hydration level that it's just not accurate. And what I find with numbers, for some people, it might help them have a goal and kind of stick with, oh, this is my progress. I like tracking everything. For some others, it becomes a point of stress. They will think, okay, last week I lost 5 pounds. How come this week I only lost 3? Or like, what if I lost 8? What do I need to do to lose 10? Then you're not really focusing on how you feel anymore, but just the number. And something that I remind my clients as well, some of my clients exercise more than others. When you start going to the gym and start building muscle, chances are you're not going to lose weight because muscle is heavier than fat. Right. So this is why with my clients, I actually almost do a checkpoint with them of how they feel rather than what the numbers are. And I will give them, I will agree with them goals in terms of, okay, you bought this dress 2 years ago for your daughter's graduation. You don't fit it anymore. You want to fit it. Let's try to get there. Have actual real life goals rather than numbers. Because numbers are just too inaccurate.
Right. And they are arbitrary, right? Because if you're very muscular, you will be you'll be heavier than you.
And as a Chinese person, I am very light compared to my contemporaries who are Caucasian or, African American. I am just light. My bones are light. So it's just not really a fair comparison.
Yeah, that's so true. Really good point. Really good point. So now here's a big question. How do you get to your best health without restrictive diets?
Yes, so this is the $1 million question.
Yeah.
I'll walk you through what I do with my clients, right? So I always start with a very detailed consultation. And this is actually to find out, number one, what their life looks like. You know, are you a stay-at-home mom? Are you an accountant? Or are you someone who travels every week internationally for work? It all matters, because it tells me, it gives me a picture of the pace of your life, you know, and what's more important to you. And then I also talk to them about their relationship with food, because for most people, food is a reward, right? Because food is a lot of things for people. Food can be your grandma's pasta bake. It could be your mom's cakes. It could be a lot of things. And, you know, there's so much emotion linked with food that it becomes very important to understand what your own relationship with food is. For me, it's a love-hate, because as a child, I couldn't eat much. I would be eating 8 small meals a day just because I could never finish my meals. And that was so stressful for me. So for a long time, while the rest of my family would sit around the table and finish their dinner, I would still be there 2 hours later because I just couldn't finish it. So I have a complicated relationship with food. But for some other people, it could be, you know, maybe as a child, if you misbehaved, you were told to go to your room and you don't get dinner, right? That all of these things actually build up into a relationship with food. So it's really important to understand that. Because what food is, it's not actually a reward and punishment system. Food is there to prepare your body for what you're about to do next, right? And I'm stealing this from one of my previous guests on my podcast, but when you go on a long journey, you fill up your car before the journey. You don't reward your car afterwards with gas, right? If it's out of gas, it's not going to go. Simple as that. So food, first and foremost, is fuel for your life, right? So once I have this conversation with my clients, then I figure out, okay, are you someone who has the time to meal prep? Or do you prefer cooking fresh meals every day, like me? I hate eating reheated foods. Or are you so busy that maybe you are one of 2 parents, both of you work full time, and you just don't have time for it? Then maybe let's use something like HelloFresh. You know, that's okay too. So then I figure out basically based on their preferences, how busy they are. And we figure out a best way to get the most nutrients and basically the least rubbish. Mm-hmm. And I would say that's probably the simplest way, even for listeners, if you want to have a go at doing it yourself. Figure out what's the priority here. Because when you are 2 full-time working parents with no help and you have toddlers or something, you need to figure out your priority. It isn't going to be making gourmet, you know, like chef level meals. It's going to be, how do you get the most nutrients, best quality food on the table the quickest? Mm-hmm. Instead of focusing on what's restrictive. Now, some of my clients do give me reports of, you know, they go do maybe food intolerances, allergy tests, and they give me all the results. And absolutely, if you have allergies and intolerances and sensitivities, we'll cut that out. But other than that, you know, it's figuring out what will fuel your lifestyle best. For office workers, you're going to be the most, I guess, energy exhaustive during the daytime. You're not going to be doing much in the evening, right? So we might look at making sure your breakfast is pretty high in energy, but burns slowly, so that you don't have that mid-morning snack when you wander to the vending machine, grab a Snickers bar, right? And one slightly controversial thing I do with my clients is, where possible, I get them to try cutting out caffeine for a little bit, just so they understand where their baseline energy is. Because as I always remind my clients, caffeine is not a nutrient. It's a stimulant. Right. Right? It's basically a lie. You feel amazing, but actually it didn't nourish your body. Mm-hmm. So we might start with a breakfast like that, which is, you know, good energy, plenty of fiber, protein, slow burning energy. And then we'll figure out, okay, lunchtime, everyone's experienced the afternoon slump, you know, that 2 o'clock meeting when you just can't stop yawning. So we need to figure out what that lunch is. And depending again on, you know, busyness and all of that, we figure out the best lunch. Usually I would, again, plenty of fiber. I'm a big proponent of having good quality protein. Doesn't matter if you eat meat or you're vegetarian or vegan, you can get protein anyway. And what I've generally found with most of my clients, as well as myself, carbs are relatively low on the ladder. Like it's good if you have, you know, grains, sweet potatoes, things like that, because it is part of a balanced diet. Mm-hmm. But I find that usually I will fill half a plate, let's say, with veg, quarter of a plate with protein, remainder of that, whatever carbs you like. That tends to work quite well as an easy formula for people. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what type of food recommendations, just as give us an example of what is a slow burning breakfast? Like what can you eat for breakfast that would last?
So I love eggs, right? Mm-hmm. So I usually have 2 to 3 eggs. Could be scrambled. I mean, look, if you add a ton of butter to it, it's obviously going to be less healthy. So moderately. I like it scrambled, poached, boiled, whatever. So 2 eggs are usually fine for most people. You can have a couple of slices of brown toast. Brown being the operative word here. When it comes to carbs, definitely white is not good. Mm-hmm. Just because it's not that it's toxic to you, right? I remind people, unless you're eating poison, no food is actually bad for you. It's just a bit of a useless food when you eat white carbs, because all the fiber's gone, a lot of the nutrients are gone. You're basically eating calories that don't give you any nourishment. So I say it's a waste. It's a waste of space for your body. And, you know, you can have some fruit as well. I like having fruit kind of early in the day, just because it does have sugar content as well. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, so eggs really, I tend to go with. A lot of people I know will talk about porridge or oatmeal, as you guys call it.
Yes, oatmeal.
Personally, I think it depends on how you make it, right? Oats can be very healthy. Everybody knows, you know, heart healthy, all of that. But bearing in mind, it's not going to be very high on protein. And it could be, you know, if you have certain maybe IBS problems or, you know, gut issues, it can be hard to digest. So you just really need to, you know, try it out, be adventurous, and listen to what your body's telling you. Like your body will sing if it enjoyed the food you gave it. Right. And some warning signs will be if you've just eaten and you're hungry within like half an hour, probably need to look at what you ate again. Right. Because either it wasn't enough or it wasn't the right combination of food. And a lot of my clients laugh when I tell them, your problem might actually be that you're not eating enough, because everybody thinks to lose weight, you need to eat less. Right. But for me, it's never about eating less. It's about eating what's appropriate or what fits your body. Mm-hmm. I mean, I actually eat a lot. Like for my size, I actually eat a lot of food. A lot of my male colleagues at work are like, what the hell, Janice? Like, you're eating like as much as we are, or maybe sometimes more. How? And then I'm like, well, I move a lot more than you. Like my metabolism is going to be higher than you, but it doesn't mean you need to catch up with what I'm eating. Right? This works for me.
Right. And maybe it's what you eat too, as compared to what they eat. You know, because they might eat more either non-nutrient dense foods or.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm going to assume that you are eating the best thing for your body. So you can probably eat a little bit more than.
Yeah, I mean, I would actually say, obviously, getting the training, getting the education to be a nutrition coach helps, but you can really learn to be more attuned with your body, right? I figured out over the last 5-6 years that my body happens to work very well on, a little bit more fats, a little bit more protein, and less carbs. That's just what works for me. On days where I have loads of carbs, like, let's say if I go on holiday to Italy and all I eat is pasta every day, I feel stupid. Like, not even kidding. Like, I'm just so slow. I just don't function as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, sometimes people will joke that, oh, you feel the kind of being lethargic or whatever after a big meal. It's all things that your body is telling you, actually.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay, we are going to take a short break, and it's really short, just a minute. And we're going to come back and finish our conversation with Janice, which is very interesting, as a matter of fact. So hold on tight. Let's do this commercial, and we will be right back.
Do you suffer from bladder leaks? If you have ever leaked a little when you call for exercise, help is available. 1 in 3 women experience bladder leaks in her lifetime. For a free consultation, visit our website, thepelviccoach.com.
So if you are one of those women who has a few drops that escape when you laugh, cough, sneeze, or when you exercise, or even if you have bigger issues or you feel like you have to go to the bathroom every time, do not think that is a normal occurrence, because it actually is not. And I always have to say this, it is not normal that you do this as you age. Everybody does not have this problem as they age. So if you do, don't forget, you can always find help go to thepelviccoach.com. It's right there, information on programs that will help you to stop or reduce your bladder leaks. But right now, we're going to get back to Janice, and we're going to continue our conversation on health, nutrition, and how we can all feel better if we eat properly and learn how to eat properly. So I want to go back. Before our break, you talked about fiber. And you talked about fiber in a few of the recommendations that you gave for people with meals. So talk a little bit about the importance of making sure that you have enough fiber.
Right. So fiber for me, right? Again, I'm not a medical doctor, but I think if we rewind to how do we know we don't have enough fiber, just look at your poo, basically, right? And this is something that I've chatted with a few other nutritionists and coaches, and people just don't talk enough about poo because it's gross, right? Mm-hmm. But think about too, I mean, I don't have my own children yet, but my brother, I know a lot of people who have babies, and I'm like, what do? You look at their nappies, right? Because it tells you things, right? The consistency, the color, how much it floats, whatever. So I think fiber for me is important in 2 ways. So number one, definitely your bowel movements. I mean, people can go look up, what's normal, what's not. Typically, I would say 1 to 3 times a day, maybe up to or like down to once every other day. I think it's still considered normal. Yes, but of course, when you have extremely frequent movements or you only go once a week, then, maybe go get it checked out. So fiber, number one, is really important for your bowel movements. And also number two, for me, it's more actually about how are you sustaining the energy that you just consumed? Because what fiber does is actually it slows down the whole digestive process because it's more complex, right, for your body to deal with. And so if you eat something, let's say you eat a sugar cube, that's going to go in no time, right? It's going to go get digested, becomes glucose, goes into your blood, insulin comes, deals with it, it's gone, right? Whereas if you're eating, you know, a high carb meal, but you have proteins, you have fats, you have fiber, which increases the complexity of the digestive process, then the whole thing slows down, which means it turns into, you know, the whole process of turning into glucose, getting absorbed into your bloodstream, and then you being consumed as energy or being stored is slower, right? This is why it's important that, you know, you have fiber in your meals. I know there are various schools of thought around this, especially people who are on a carnivore diet, etc. To that, I would just say, you know, with all of these dietary and medical things, we will only ever find out more and more about the human body, right? And no two bodies are the same, right? We could eat the same meals and I promise you our bodies will react differently. But by and large, you know, I would say make sure you have enough fiber unless you've done your checks and perhaps because of IBS or whatever other reason, the doctor tells you not to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for our listeners, and as we get ready to close out, we probably have about 6 minutes or so. Mm-hmm. What are some steps, maybe about 4 steps that people can take to begin to improve their health today? Right.
So number 1, stick with actual food, right? What I mean by that is foods that don't need labels. You don't need a label to tell you it's a tomato and you know what's in there, tomato, right? So stick with whole, real foods as much as possible, and a very simple way. You know, and when you talk about convenience, you have HelloFresh, you have all of these things, you have grocery delivery. It can be convenient without going into convenience foods, right? And as soon as you stop buying processed foods and taking it into your home, you're going to stop eating it, right? If you happen to be out, your kids want a McDonald's, fine, right? But don't bring it into your home. So that's step 1. Step 2, start a food diary. You don't need to show it to anyone. And especially now, we're in a day and age where we take pictures of every bloody thing that we eat. It's not that hard, right? So start a food diary. And what I encourage people to do is really think about, you know, maybe write some notes if you want, but how hungry were you before you ate it? How did it make you feel afterwards? Because unbeknownst to a lot of people, you hear people sometimes having this massive all-you-can-eat meal and then they'll be groaning, like, oh, I feel sick. Write that down. Remember it. Because actually our bodies are so smart. It will give you signs if you've done something wrong to it, right? And number 3 really is actually to start practicing self-care. Because I think this is very fundamental to you feeling more connected to your body. A lot of the times we wear, you know, working overtime, being exhausted, we wear them like badges of honor, right? And it's actually disconnecting you from how you're feeling, because you are made to believe that if you woke up one morning and you feel rubbish and you have a headache, the right thing to do is to take a painkiller and get online. When actually, the better thing might just be to switch off the lights, go back to sleep, or drink some water, right? So we are letting productivity take over our own health. So I know people might want this simple, give me a diet to follow and I'll do it. But I'm sorry to say, I'm not here to do that. I have never done that for my clients. So number 1, stick with real food. Number 2, keep a food diary and track your own reactions to foods. And number 3, start practicing self-care so that you are connected to yourself.
Yeah, those are really good. I had to laugh when you said take a picture of your food, because that is actually a good way to even do your food diary.
Yeah.
To take the picture and then just write the reactions down, because, you know, I've done food diaries in the past or whatever, and I'm writing down, you forget number 1.
Yeah.
So if you don't write it down right after, you can't even remember what you ate. or you leave something out, or, something that probably you should have put in there because you don't want to remember that you ate it. And then to track your reaction to that food. Now that's to me I have guests and they always say something and just it'll be one thing that'll stick out and I'm like, that's really, really good. Because I think that's really, really good because what you put in affects how your body performs. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be what you put in immediately. It could be what you put in the day before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I do love that. I love that a lot. I love that a lot. So we talked about food recommendations. You're giving us so much information, food recommendations. And I also love that you said that you don't give your clients diets because that's what people fall off the wagon when they have these diets. And
the way I explain this to people, right? For example, Dr. Sheila, like this is the first time we've seen each other on camera. I would probably never meet you in person. I mean, it would be great if we did, but I probably won't. Now we're sitting down. I have no idea how tall you are. I don't know what you like wearing, what your climate is like. Me giving you a diet would be like me deciding what you're going to wear for the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. Except you can't give me any feedback, right? Because what are all these diets? You can't go speak to the person who created it, right? So they don't know how you feel. They don't live your life. And you have no way of telling them if it worked. Right. But what I'm wearing now, for example, I like and it fits me. It doesn't mean it's going to fit you. So for people who are still unsure about giving up diets, just think back to the last time you went to buy a dress or a shirt online. It looked fabulous online when it came. Might look a bit different. And that's exactly how diets work.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah. That's really true. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, it has been great having you here. The information that you have given to myself and the audience is priceless, at least to me. That fits into, and that's my voice going, sorry. It will come back shortly. There we go. That goes into my whole purpose of giving people the information that they need to try to continue to live their best life or begin to live your best life. For some people,
it's never too late to start.
Oh, it is never too late to start. Never, ever, ever. And that is a really good point to almost end this conversation because it is never too late to start to improve your life. Never. So I want to go ahead and thank you, Janice. Thank you so much for being a guest. And I will hope that this information helps at least one person, to improve their health. So
thank you for having me.
Oh, you are quite welcome. You're quite welcome. Until next time, audience, I would like to say thank you for joining in. I am your host, Dr. Sheila Craig Whiteman, and I will see you again next week. This show is every Thursday at noon. Eastern Standard Time. So United States Eastern Standard Time. So whatever time that is, wherever you are, you can still find me. Until next time, you all take care and see you again.